Hey guys, Jared with Trident Fly Fishing, and today we're going to be tying a very simple, very cool sculpin pattern. Everybody knows big fish like to eat little fish, whether you're targeting browns or smallmouth or, even saltwater species that are also eating sculpin. This is called the Chubby Muffin Sculpin, which is an awesome name, and we're going to get started on this right now. So in the vise today, I have an XS 506 from Umpqua. It's one of their X series hooks, and this hook is in a size 1. So to start this off, I'm going to use UTC 140 in brown. I'm just going to put some pseudo eyes on here, and they're in nickel and yellow, and they're in a medium size. So just going to start my thread and create a base to put my eyes on. And then right here is where I like to put a little bump so I have something to pull the eyes against. So with this thread bump here, this is going to allow me to pull my eyes against something so they're not going to move. And we're just going to tie them right on the bottom of this hook shank. Guys, if you enjoy our videos, make sure you hit subscribe, hit the bell notification so you're notified of all of our future fly tying videos, and then you won't miss any. Also hit like if you enjoy these videos. Maybe comment below, let us know what you'd like us to tie next, what we're doing right, and what you'd like us to see do a little differently. That'll just help us out here so we know what you guys are enjoying. So right there, I got my eyes on there. They're pretty good. I can hit them with some super glue too. I don't really think it's necessary here, but if you'd like, you can put super glue there. So right here, we're just going to start by attaching some Flashabou here, and I have this in holographic gold. I think on this pattern it's a little flashy. I might tone it down a little bit, but it does add a nice touch. So just fold that over my thread and tie it in right at the bend here. Maybe a little further forward. Just make sure it's right on the bottom of the hook shank. Is that one? We'll leave that. Okay, so what I like to do too is come in here and take my scissors and just kind of taper this out a little bit. It looks pretty good. Get rid of anything that's kind of sticking up too much. Get rid of that one. There we go. Okie doke. So the next thing we're going to do is just create a dubbing ball. And this is going to make sure when I put my rabbit strip on here that it doesn't go anywhere as far as sliding down the hook shank. It's also going to give me something to kind of flare my gills that we're going to put on here. And I'm just using the rabbit hair that I have from the strip to create a dubbing ball. You're not going to see this dubbing ball, so you can use whatever you have on your desk. So I do like to create a pretty good sized ball there. And that looks pretty good to me. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to tie in either a hackle feather or Sculpin feather here, and it's going to act as our gills. So it's kind of hidden, but when this thing moves and swims in the water, you'll see it. So I'm just going to take a red hackle feather here, create a little delta so I have a tie-in point. I'm just going to tie that in right there, pull it back to my dubbing ball, cover everything up there, and then we're going to wrap this forward. So just pull everything back as you wrap, and we'll get a good amount of this on. We'll probably use most, if not all, of this feather here, and just wrap it up forward, up the shank here. Continue preening those fibers back. This is also going to help with the wide profile of this. If you ever look at a sculpin, they're pretty fat, and hence the name of this fly, the Chubby Muffin. You can vary up the colors here too. You might want to use a red feather that's a little less bright. This might be crimson red. It's pretty bright here. Tone it down a little bit sometimes helps. Just going to get rid of that there. And then I'm going to wrap back slightly. Kind of help push those back. It looks pretty good to me. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to tie in are fins for this sculpin. Another thing you'll see in sculpin and a lot of sculpin flies, I don't know if they're 100% necessary, but you'll see, you know, fins. They're pretty prominent, so it does help with the profile here. And for fins, I'm just going to use some hen, natural hen here. This is off of India Hen and brown. This India Hen is super versatile. I use it all the time. So I'm just going to tie it in, one on this side. Position it so it doesn't roll. And then I'll rotate that around and put another one on the other side. Again, just pinch wrap it down. And then, you know, you can adjust those a little bit while they're on there. Cover those up, and then we'll just cut off the tags here. So at this point is where I like to put in my rabbit strip, and I'm going to use a Magnum rabbit strip, and this is in a natural grizzly hare's ear. Again, check the color of your sculpin. This one's light. There's a nice little rocky area that I fish, and it has light colored sculpin, tons of smallmouth, and you know, swing this thing, strip this thing, and they crush it. So I took a measurement. I'm going to tie it in right here, and I want it to extend to my flash there. Of course, once we put it on there, we can adjust it as well. So right here is where we're going to take this, and we're just going to punch it through here. So right in the middle of that skin, and just push it through. And there it goes. So I'm going to take this out of the vise real quick, pull this down. Let's take this out of the vise and just seat that on there, and then we'll put this back in our vise. And you'll see where my length is and where my rabbit strip is there. So I'm just going to pinch this down real quick and just cover this up. And this is all going to be covered up with a dubbing loop here, so don't worry about being too messy. So the next thing I'm going to do, instead of creating a dubbing loop, I'm actually just going to use a dubbing brush. So I have an EP brush. It's a Foxy brush. It's 1.5 inches wide. And the color on this is root beer, which was kind of a green-brown color. I think it matches this fly pretty well. So just going to tie my wire in there and make sure I get it all the way back to where my tie-in point is. I'm just going to cover up that wire. I'm not going to worry about being too clean. And then I'm going to leave my thread right at the bend here where the jig hook starts. Okay, so with this dubbing brush here, we're just going to make sure all the fibers are splayed out. And we're going to pack this as tight as we can here. This is really going to push some water and give the fly the profile it needs. Again, sculpin are really wide in the head, so we really want to pack this in. So it's super tight touching turns, and just pull the fibers back as you go. You know, flare that stuff out, get it pushed back. We're going to hit this with a dubbing brush too, so it should help us with any trap fibers that we have. Get it. And at this point here, I like to jam as many wraps as I can behind my eyes. And then we're going to figure eight through these eyes. And again, it's going to be messy, but we're going to pick this out and you'll clean it up a little bit. And then we'll take a wrap right here in front, or two. I think we can sneak two in there. And then what I like to do is just, you know, pick this apart so that we're right on that wire. I'm going to trap a little bit, but as long as it's facing back, we'll be good here. And then a wrap in front, and then we should be able to just helicopter this off. Keep your thread tight. This takes a while because it is wire. Just don't use your scissors, you'll wreck them unless you have a crappy pair of scissors. There it is. Okay, so I'm going to rotate this around so I can see. I'm just going to pull all these fibers back here and just clean it up and create a nice little head. Alright, so at this point we're going to whip finish. Get rid of your thread. I'm going to hit this with a dubbing brush now. make sure nothing is trapped here. We want this as buggy and full of profile as we can get. All right, so at this point, I'm going to keep it in my vise and just grab my scissors and trim it out a little bit. So I don't like to do a lot of trimming. It's like I said, I do like to keep this pretty buggy and wide profile. So basically, I just like to trim that little bit that sticks up and anything that's too errant there. Well, guys, that's pretty much it. That's the Chubby Muffin Sculpin. Take this out of the vise so you can see it a little bit better. Pretty wide profile. If you look from the top, you can see our fins here. Get great movement. It's nice and heavy, and we tied this on a jig hook so that, you're never going to get hung up with this thing. Give it a try. Let us know how you like it, and we'll see you next time.